Hello, Davison. Superintendent Kevin Brown coming to you with another edition of Brown's Blog. I want to start out today by saying just how good it is to be back in school. It's so great. The excitement is undeniable. I think our students are happy to be back in school. Our staff is happy to be back in school. Whether your students are online or face-to-face, it's just great to actually be doing school again. We've had a pretty good start to the year. We're nearing the end of our second full week, or second week of school anyway, and things are going pretty well. I do want to take some time and just talk to you today about our COVID-19 protocols. And I also want to respond to some rumors that we've heard that are floating around out there. Well, one of the rumors we've heard is that the schools are full of COVID. And that's simply not the case. We have had 3 cases of students testing positive for COVID-19. One of those students tested positive on August 28th, prior to the start of the school year. The student never reported to school and is now a 100% online student. This past week, we've had a couple more students who had tested positive for COVID-19. One of them was asymptomatic. There were virtually no symptoms. The parents actually had the student and themselves tested because they found out that they were around, they were possibly exposed to somebody who may have had the virus over the weekend outside of school, and they got tested. The parents were negative, but the student was positive. So that student has been asked to quarantine for 14 days, as were 4 other students and the teacher that had been working with that individual student. And then we had another student that just recently tested positive for the coronavirus, but that student hadn't been in school. They became symptomatic on a Monday, and they hadn't been in school Saturday or Sunday, and they didn't come to school Monday or Tuesday. So even though they were a positive COVID test, there was no requirement for the district, or we were not advised that anyone else had to quarantine because they were close contacts of that positive test. So to kind of summarize, we've had 3 positive cases of COVID so far this year. It's resulted in those 3 students having to quarantine, 2 of which had not been in school, 1 had, and so an additional 4 students and 1 staff member that has had to quarantine because of COVID-19 positive students. On the other hand, we've had a number of students who have had to quarantine because they are what is called symptomatic. And this is, parents, where we really need your help. If your students are sick, or even if they've got a runny nose or the sniffles or a headache, we ask that you please keep them home from school. Because if a student is symptomatic, if they come to school and they're expressing symptoms that could be associated with COVID, then we have to follow our protocols and take appropriate safety precautions. And just to be clear, the health department has identified what are called primary symptoms and also secondary symptoms. If a student has just 1 primary symptom, then we need to send that student home, ask them to quarantine, do contact tracing to identify any close contacts, and ask them to quarantine as well. So those primary symptoms are a fever of 100.4 degrees or higher, the sudden onset of a persistent and uncontrollable cough, shortness of breath, and just recently the health department has added a couple more, chills, which commonly accompany a fever, and the newest symptom added is a sudden loss of taste or smell. So if a student is experiencing any of those 5 principal symptoms, then they are going to be asked to go home, to quarantine. We're going to have to do contact tracing, identify any of their close contacts, and those students and or staff would also have to quarantine as well. Secondary symptoms are numerous, and they're symptoms that are commonly affiliated with other types of things like allergies, colds, flu, and things of that nature. Everything from a runny nose, sore throat, headache, that kind of stuff. But it only takes 2 of those. So if your student has allergies and they wake up with a sore throat and a runny nose, or if they've got a headache and they're an upset stomach, those 2 symptoms together would require us to follow the coronavirus protocols, send them home, quarantine any of their close contacts, and so forth. So it's really, really imperative that if your student isn't feeling well or they're exhibiting any symptoms, whether you think it's an allergy, a cold, or anything other than COVID, we still ask you to please keep your student home until they're feeling better and until they're asymptomatic or not showing any symptoms for a couple of days, and then allow them to return to school. That's a much better option than sending them to school and us asking you to come and pick them up and take them home for the next 14 days because they exhibited symptoms at school. So we really do need your help with that. We've actually had now 70 students that have had to be quarantined, not because of COVID, but because of symptoms, because they showed symptoms. Many of those students have already returned to school because if a student is symptomatic and they get a COVID test and it's negative, they can come back, their close contacts can come back, or if the parent takes the student to the doctor and they get an alternate diagnosis. The doctor says, nope, this isn't COVID, it's seasonal allergies. Nope, this isn't COVID, it's the cold. And they write us that alternative diagnosis. We can allow our students to come back. So that's what's causing a lot of students to be put out of school or quarantined. It's not the COVID-19 virus, it's the students that are exhibiting symptoms, and we have to act as a precaution because of the COVID-19 virus. So I wanted to make sure to explain that. So in summary, we've had 3 cases of students with COVID in the district. That's resulted in the quarantine of 4 additional students and 1 staff member. And in no case have we had transmission in the school. In each of those 3 cases, the student got COVID outside of the school from someone not affiliated with the school. So we've had no transmission inside of the district itself. We're also going to be working on, right now, we're working on putting together a COVID-19 dashboard that we can post on our website, where we can update information as far as the number of cases and the results of those and all of the actions taken. So we're trying to be very transparent, and we're going to be providing that information on our website so that you can log in and check it out and see what's going on at any time. I also wanted to take just a few minutes today to recognize our staff. This has been a very challenging time for school employees. Our food service employees are rock stars, and they've been working hard since last March, providing food for needy families and students. From March through June, they picked it up again in August, and they haven't missed a beat. They've had to completely change the way we do lunch, breakfast, and they've done that, and they're doing an incredible job. In addition to providing meals for all of our students that are face-to-face, they're also providing meals for our online students and for needy people in the community. So they are truly rock stars and doing a great job, and they deserve some recognition for that. Same with our custodial and maintenance staff. The expectations for their positions have changed. They're being asked to do new duties all the time, and obviously, we've kicked up the cleaning and the disinfecting a notch, and so it's a lot more intense, and they're being asked to do more as well. And then our tech department, who is doing an unbelievable job servicing all of the devices that are being used in our schools, as well as providing devices for families, for students that are online, and troubleshooting and problem solving. It's a monumental task. We have a tech department of 4 people for our entire district. They've been really busting their tail and doing a great job. Our teachers deserve a ton of credit. They've had to completely change a lot of their instructional practices. They've had to identify and become proficient with new instructional strategies. And really our teachers' willingness to work with us to implement some of the new schedules and things at the middle school and the high school, and the additional cleaning, wiping down of commonly touched surfaces and things that they are doing to allow us to return to face-to-face instruction. I can't say enough about them. And the union leadership, for that matter. The union leadership and myself don't always agree. We have our disputes, but we have a great relationship, and we work well together, and I'm very, very grateful for that relationship. Secretarial staff working extremely hard. They're the ones on the front lines in the office dealing with the students that are symptomatic, and I just can't say enough about the job that they're doing. Our parapros and our monitors, basically everyone in the Davison Community Schools staff. I just want to give a huge shout out to all of you, because we couldn't do it without you. You're a great group. I'm very, very proud to be leading this district. Everyone lives our mission of kids first, day in and day out, and that's very impressive. And last but not least, we're playing our first football game. It's a home game on Friday here against Powers. Football's been off again, on again, and I know we're not going to have a lot of people in the stands, but our DTV program will be broadcasting the game so everybody can see it, and we're very excited for all of our fall sports to get back in action, and good luck and go Cards.